What if I told you that your greatest virtue might actually be your deepest wound? Your kindness, your reliability, your profound ability to put everyone else's needs before your own. We have been taught to see these as strengths, as pillars of a good character. But what if, for many of us, they are not pillars at all? What if they are exquisitely crafted scar tissue, formed over a wound that no one, not even you, was supposed to see? When we hear the word trauma, our minds jump to catastrophic events, to war, to accidents, to overt abuse, the big, loud, undeniable injuries. But there is another kind of trauma, a quieter, more insidious kind. It doesn't leave visible scars. It often happens in homes that looked normal, even good. It's called small t trauma, and it is the silent architect of the people-pleasing shadow. As Carl Jung so wisely observed, the greatest and most important problems of life are all fundamentally insoluble. They can never be solved, but only outgrown. Today, we are not here to solve the past. We are here to begin outgrowing the story it wrote on our souls. We will give this invisible wound a name, and we will take the first gentle steps toward healing it. If you are ready to look with compassion at the story behind your kindness, I invite you to affirm it. Write in the comments below, "My feelings are valid."
To heal a wound, you must first acknowledge that it exists. And for so many of us, the wounds we carry are the hardest to see. They are the wounds of the unremarkable, the wounds of what didn't happen, as much as what did. Let's draw a distinction. In the world of psychology, there is what's known as big T trauma. These are the acute, life-threatening events that shatter our sense of safety in the world. A serious accident, the violence of war, a natural disaster, physical or sexual abuse. These events are like earthquakes. They are undeniable. They leave a clear line in our life's timeline, before and after. But there is another category, small t trauma. And the name is deceiving. Small does not refer to the impact of the wound. It refers to the nature of the events themselves. Small t traumas are not single, catastrophic events. They are chronic, prolonged, and often subtle experiences of distress that, over time, erode our sense of self-worth and safety. They are not earthquakes. They are a constant, low-grade drizzle of emotional rain that soaks you to the bone so slowly you barely notice you're freezing. Small t trauma is the experience of emotional neglect. Having caregivers who provided for all your physical needs, a roof over your head, food on the table, but were emotionally unavailable. No one asked you how you felt. No one knew how to hold space for your sadness or your anger. You learned very early that your inner world was an inconvenience. Small t trauma is the experience of conditional love. The feeling that you were only loved when you were achieving, performing, or being good. You learned that love was not a given, but something to be earned, a prize to be won through compliance and perfection. Small t trauma is growing up in a home with chronic emotional instability, the constant tension of parents who were always fighting, the unpredictability of a caregiver struggling with addiction or mental illness. You became a hyper-vigilant little soldier, always scanning the horizon for the next emotional storm, learning to make yourself small and agreeable to survive. These experiences fundamentally shape the development of a child's nervous system. A child in these environments learns a critical, subconscious lesson. The world is not a safe place. My authentic self, with all its messy feelings and needs, is not welcome here. To be safe, to be loved, I must become what others need me to be. This is the birth of the people-pleasing shadow. It is not a personality trait you were born with. It is a brilliant adaptation to an environment that could not meet your core emotional needs. Let's think about a woman named Maria. Maria would tell you she had a good childhood. Her parents were respected in their community. They never laid a hand on her. They sent her to good schools. But Maria's mother was chronically depressed, lost in a fog of her own sadness, and her father was a workaholic, emotionally distant, and only showing affection when Maria brought home a report card with straight A's. So what did Maria learn? She learned that her mother's sadness was a vast ocean that could swallow her whole, and it was her job not to make any waves. She became quiet, self-sufficient, and never asked for anything. She learned that her father's love was a reward for achievement, so she achieved. She became a perfectionist, the responsible one, the one who never failed. Her authentic self, the little girl who felt sad or lonely or just wanted to be silly, got packed away. It was too risky. Her persona, the mask of the perfect, capable, and kind daughter, was what earned her a fragile sense of safety and approval. Now, Maria is 48. She is a successful lawyer, a wife, and a community volunteer. And she is exhausted. She is riddled with anxiety. She feels a deep, unnamed emptiness. She cannot say no to anyone because the subconscious program is still running. If I am not perfect and useful, I will not be loved. My needs are a burden. The chronic emotional neglect and conditional love of her good childhood created a profound small t trauma. It created a split between her successful outer self and her wounded, hidden inner self. This is the core concept of the shadow in Jungian psychology. The more we identify with the light side of our persona, the more the dark, unlived parts of us get pushed into the unconscious. For Maria, her kindness is not a simple virtue. It is her survival strategy. It is the scar tissue she developed to navigate a world that felt emotionally unsafe. And the exhaustion and anxiety she feels today are the symptoms of this hidden wound. It is the cry of her authentic self begging to finally be seen. It is the weight of the shadow she has been carrying for a lifetime. I want you to pause and consider this for yourself. Does any part of Maria's story resonate? The need to be perfect, the feeling of being responsible for your parents' emotions, the sense that love was something you had to work for. You don't need to have a label for it. You just need to allow for the possibility that some part of your story, even the parts that looked fine on the outside, may have left a deeper mark than you ever allowed yourself to believe. Acknowledging this is not an act of blame. It is a radical act of self-compassion. It is the first step toward understanding the true origin of your kindness and beginning the journey to heal the wound behind it. To acknowledge this hidden wound is a monumental first step. It allows you to look at your people-pleasing, your perfectionism, your anxiety, not as personal failings, but as the logical outcomes of your past experiences. It shifts the question from "what is wrong with me" to "what happened to me?" And this shift is the foundation of all healing. But what comes next? How do we begin to mend a wound that is so old, so deeply woven into the fabric of who we are? We do not begin with grand gestures. We begin with small, consistent acts of gentleness and reconnection. The healing of small t trauma is a quiet revolution. It is the process of slowly, patiently giving yourself the emotional safety and validation you may not have received. Today, I want to offer 3 gentle practices to begin this journey. The first practice is self-compassion journaling. This is different from standard journaling. We are not just recording events or analyzing problems. We are creating a dialogue with the wounded part of ourselves, the part that Jung would call the inner child, the little one who learned they had to be good to be safe. I invite you to find a quiet moment with your journal and write a letter. A letter to the younger version of you who had to be the emotional caretaker, the one who had to be perfect, the one who felt invisible. You might write something like this: "To the little girl who learned to be so quiet, I see you. I see how hard you worked to keep the peace. I see how you packed away your own needs so you wouldn't be a burden. It was not your job to manage your parents' feelings. That was too heavy for your small shoulders. You were just a child. You deserved to be cared for. You deserved to be messy and loud and sad and angry. You deserved to be seen. I am here now. I am the adult, and I will keep you safe." As you write this, you may feel emotion rising, tears, sadness, even anger. Let them come. These are not tears for the past, they are tears of healing in the present. You are perhaps for the first time giving your own inner child the validation it has been waiting for its entire life. You are becoming the compassionate witness to your own story. This is not about blaming your parents. It is about reparenting yourself. The second practice is a simple yet powerful somatic exercise. Small t trauma lives in the nervous system. It creates a baseline state of hypervigilance, of feeling unsafe. We must communicate safety back to the body in its own language, the language of sensation. I invite you to try this right now. Place one hand over your heart and the other hand on your stomach. Close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Take a slow, deep breath in and an even slower breath out. Feel the warmth of your own hands on your body. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your chest and your belly with your breath. This simple act of self-contact is profoundly regulating for the vagus nerve. It sends a nonverbal signal to your brainstem that says, "I am here, I am present, I am safe." As you continue to breathe, I want you to silently repeat a simple phrase, a phrase of self-compassion. It could be, "May I be safe." It could be, "May I be kind to myself." It could be, "It is okay to rest." Choose a phrase that feels soothing to you. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, offer that phrase to yourself. Do this for just 1 minute. This is not about forcing a feeling. It is about creating a small internal sanctuary, a moment in your day where you are offering yourself the one thing you may have always been searching for from others, a feeling of unconditional presence and care. The third practice is the art of self-validation. If you grew up in an environment where your feelings were dismissed or ignored, you learn to dismiss and ignore them yourself. You tell yourself you are too sensitive or overreacting. Self-validation is the conscious act of reversing this pattern. It is the practice of becoming your own emotional ally. It works like this. The next time you feel a difficult emotion, sadness, frustration, disappointment, pause. Instead of immediately trying to fix it or push it away, just name it. Silently to yourself, say, this is sadness, or I am feeling frustrated right now. Then offer yourself a simple sentence of validation. It makes sense that I feel this way. That's it. My friend canceled our plans and I feel disappointed. It makes sense that I feel this way. My boss didn't acknowledge my hard work and I feel angry. It makes sense that I feel this way. This simple phrase, "it makes sense," is a radical act. It bypasses the inner critic. It stops the cycle of self-judgment. It tells the wounded part of you that its experience is real, it is valid, and it is allowed to be here. You are not condoning the behavior of others. You are simply honoring the truth of your own emotional reality. You are ending the war with your own feelings. These three practices, writing a letter to your inner child, the somatic practice of self-holding, and the verbal act of self-validation, they are threads you can begin to weave into the fabric of your daily life. They are small acts of devotion to your own healing. You are not trying to erase the past. You are learning to hold it with a new tenderness. You are becoming the safe harbor your younger self always needed. And in doing so, you are finally giving yourself permission to heal.
As you begin to engage with these gentle practices, something remarkable starts to happen. You are not just soothing your anxiety or validating a feeling. You are fundamentally altering your relationship with yourself. You are moving from a state of internal alienation to one of internal connection. This is the very essence of the healing journey. For the people-pleaser, the inner world has often felt like a hostile territory, a place filled with a harsh inner critic, a demanding sense of obligation, and the constant, low-grade fear of not being good enough. We become refugees from our own inner landscape, seeking safety and validation in the external world, in the approval of others. The practices of self-compassion, somatic safety, and self-validation are like cultivating a small, safe garden in the midst of this hostile land. It is a place you can return to, a place that is yours alone, a place where your authentic self can finally begin to put down roots. This process directly addresses the core wound of small t trauma, the wound of not being seen, the wound of not being allowed to have needs, the wound of feeling that you are fundamentally too much. By writing that letter, you are seeing your own inner child. By placing a hand on your heart, you are honoring your body's need for safety. By validating your feelings, you are giving yourself permission to be a complex, emotional human being. You are, piece by piece, becoming the emotionally attuned caregiver you always needed. This is not selfish. In fact, it is the most generous thing you can do. Because when you operate from a place of depletion, of resentment, of constantly overriding your own needs, the kindness you offer is tainted. It has an energetic cost. It comes with invisible strings attached. People can feel it. They may not be able to name it, but they can sense the tension behind your smile, the weariness behind your yes. A person who is connected to themselves, who can honor their own limits, gives from a place of genuine fullness.
Their yes is a clean, clear, wholehearted offering, and their no is a clean, clear, and respectful boundary. Healing your own small t trauma does not just liberate you, it liberates your relationships from the burden of your unhealed wounds. This is a central idea in the work of Carl Jung. He spoke of the persona, the social mask we wear to be acceptable to the world. For the person with small t trauma, this persona of the kind, helpful, easygoing person becomes fused to their identity. They mistake the mask for their actual face. The shadow then becomes everything that doesn't fit the mask: their needs, their anger, their vulnerability, their desire for rest. The work of healing is the work of differentiation. It is the courageous process of realizing, I am not the mask. I am the one wearing the mask. It is about creating enough internal safety to finally, gently begin to loosen its grip. So what does this look like in real life? Let's imagine our friend Maria, the lawyer who had the good childhood. She starts to practice these small acts of internal connection. In the evening, instead of working late to get ahead, she writes in her journal. She writes a letter to the little girl who had to get straight A's to feel loved. She weeps for her. During a stressful meeting, she places a hand on her stomach and breathes, silently telling herself, I am safe even with this pressure. When her husband makes a comment that dismisses her feelings, instead of swallowing it, she pauses and says to herself, it makes sense that I feel hurt by that. These are tiny, invisible shifts. No one else might even notice them, but for Maria, they are seismic. She is building a new neural pathway, a pathway of self-loyalty. She starts to notice a little more space inside herself, a little less anxiety, a little more quiet. One day, a junior colleague asks her to take on a major part of a project that is not her responsibility. The old Maria would have said yes instantly, burdened by the need to be seen as capable and helpful. But the new Maria, the one who has been tending to her inner garden, she pauses. She feels the familiar guilt rise, but she also feels something else underneath it. A quiet sense of her own fullness, a gentle knowing of her own limits. And she says, with a kindness that is not born of fear, but of genuine self-respect, I know you're in a tough spot, and I'm happy to offer some guidance, but I can't take on that piece of the project. My plate is full right now. And she feels nothing but peace. The guilt is just a faint echo in the distance. The primary feeling is a calm, solid sense of being true to herself. She did not abandon her colleague. She offered what she could, genuinely, but she did not abandon herself. This is the fruit of this quiet internal work. It is the beginning of a life lived from the inside out.
Today, we have dared to look into the quiet corners of our past. We have given a name to the invisible wounds that so many of us carry. Small t trauma. The chronic ache of emotional neglect, of conditional love, of having to be the good one to feel safe. We now understand that our deep-seated pattern of people-pleasing is not a flaw in our character. It is the scar tissue formed over this wound. It is a testament to our resilience, a strategy that helped us survive. But survival is not the same as living, and you are ready to truly live. We have explored 3 gentle starting points for this healing journey. The practice of writing a compassionate letter to your inner child to finally give them the witness they deserved. The somatic practice of self-holding to send powerful, nonverbal signals of safety to your nervous system. And the mental practice of self-validation to end the inner war with your own feelings.
These are not just techniques. They are acts of profound self-reclamation. They are you, as the wise and capable adult you are today, reaching back in time to offer the care that was missing. Healing this wound is not about erasing your kindness. It is about purifying it. It is about transforming a kindness born of fear into a kindness born of strength and fullness. It is about learning to extend the same compassion you so freely give to others back to yourself. You deserve that compassion. You deserve to feel whole. You deserve to believe in your very bones that you are worthy of love and belonging, not because of what you do, but simply because of who you are. This entire process of acknowledging the wound, of reparenting the self, is a direct conversation with a specific part of your psyche, the part that holds all these early memories and beliefs, the part that is still running the old survival programs, the inner child. These small t traumas are the very wounds that the inner child carries. To truly stop the cycle of people-pleasing, we must do more than just understand these wounds. We must learn how to meet this child directly. How do we connect with them? How do we build a relationship of trust? How do we give them the experience of feeling seen, heard, and unconditionally safe, so they can finally relax and let the adult you lead? That is the sacred healing work we will embark on together in our next conversation. For this week, I invite you to choose just one of the 3 practices we discussed, the one that feels the most gentle, the most accessible to you right now. Will you write a short letter? Will you take 1 minute each day to hold your own heart? Or will you practice validating one feeling? Choose one small act of devotion to your own healing. To honor your intention, share in the comments below which practice you feel called to begin with: the letter, the holding, or the validation. There is power in declaring your next step, no matter how small. Thank you for your incredible courage to look at what has been hidden. The healing has already begun.